This video is specifically about how to mount this outboard motor mount on the back of a boat. In general terms, though, it's going to be about how to position or mark out bolt holes and then locate them on a surface where you can only get to one side, the surface that's sticking out. Because I don't have any 6-year-old children that are willing to crawl into the boat for me and stick bolts through holes. So everything is going to be done from this side here. The brackets have 2 lines of 6 holes each. They're about 5/16 in diameter, although the first thing to do is to figure out where on the back of the boat you want to put it, or where on the wall if it's something in your living room, and get it all straight. Now it turns out on this one, because of this handle at the top and the way it goes up and down, the only place it fits is right there. And so I've drawn a line down here and across there. And at one point, a few days ago, I had it set up and all clamped onto here so it wouldn't move too much. But even so, when I got done tracing the holes, these guys over here had moved away from these. So you can't just take a drill and start drilling the holes and aim for the center of the black part because they've wiggled. So what I'm going to do instead is drill this hole and tap those and then mount it on there, and then there's another thing I'm going to do after that. I'll drill through the fixture and locate the holes that way. And tapping, that's going to come later in this process, but I'm going to drill the holes with a 1/4 inch and then tap with a 5/16 18. And that's what'll hold it to the back. This boat has, about a 1/4 inch of fiberglass and then a 1/4 inch of plywood. And so I'm going to install threaded studs in the back of the boat, epoxied in, and then there'll be this mounting bracket and then washers and nuts on the outside. To put the centers in for the first 2 holes, I use this bit. It's called a lathe center bit, and in a hand drill, it has the advantage that it won't wiggle and walk around when you're trying to find exactly where you want it to go. And then if you do touch it down and you're not quite in the right place, you can push this one sideways and it'll cut sideways, then you can go deeper. All right, getting set up to drill through, I've rigged up, this looks a little complicated, but it's my experience watching other people drill that it's easy to get off. And as I said, these are going to be threaded studs, and they need to be much fussier than most things. This is a general drill guide. I've had this a long time, 30 or 40 years. Still got the box, and I only pull it out about once every couple of years. And this one is up here where there's a step. So I've made this guy. And there. I think that's where I want it. Oh, good. There aren't 2 holes there now. Okay, so that's good. Okay, the next one will be down here. This is a hand tapper, not for tapping hands, but for the other way. You've got a regular tap that fits down in here, and then it fits in this, which guides it and holds it so it's vertical. And then if you're tapping into a bar or something, you set it in these guys. So you get the end touching, rotate it so you can see it, and then you start in. And tapping is, if it doesn't feel right, then you stop and back up. But if you've got the drill just the right size and it's a material that you can tap, then it feels just about right. So that's in. It stopped cutting. You can feel it cut. And you want to be very careful as you bring it out through the end so you don't mess up the end threads. Okay, and we'll do the other one. As I say, you get it just so it's in, touching. A pair of bolts, and they're about right. They aren't what we're going to be using at the end, but at the moment they're just fine. So okay, and it's up now so I can get at all the threads. All right, now this is the drill bit I'm going to use on the next step. It's an 11/32. What I've done is I've mixed up some of this JB Weld Quickwood. It's an epoxy putty, and then rolled it on wax paper on the surface table. And so what we've got is something that will just fit in those square holes, and then it'll cut right at the center, but not on the edges. And so this is how we'll get our locations. They should be pretty good for the rest of the 6 holes. All right, this is with the 2 bolts in, and I loosened them a little bit and straightened it out according to that line. And then this is the far side, and you can see that if we'd gone ahead and just kept drilling, we'd be off at this point. So looking good. Okay, so I've got my custom drill bit, centering drill, chucked up, and we're not going to worry about being exactly at 90 degrees because we're just going in just a smidgen. Okay, that's that step. Okay, I've removed the mounting bracket, and there are the 6 new holes and the 2 old holes that are already threaded. And I think they look fine. We're going to switch back to the right angle. Okay, 6 new holes drilled. Here, tap the first 2, and I'll do these just the same way. All right. Okay, now we've got the set screws, and I've washed them in acetone. Did that outside a few minutes ago. And now I'm going to mix up some epoxy, regular epoxy or normal epoxy. I was talking to my wife a few minutes ago and I said, well, I'm going to work with normal epoxy, but how long has epoxy been normal at all? It seems pretty magical, although I don't really know that it's a whole lot different than concrete. They're both chemical reactions. And concrete's been around for a long time. Okay, I think that's half and half. I'm going to pick this up and walk around. I really hate the smell of this stuff. Okay, that's pretty well mixed up. This is 5-minute epoxy. I don't think I'm going to get this whole job done in 5 minutes, but we'll get started. And rather than use a syringe or something fancy like that, we're just going to break this tongue depressor up and use it. And let's see, what have we got? Nothing like an abundance of paper towels. Okay, that's it. That's 0.650 or 6.5. Okay, one down. Okay. No, I think I should stop. Okay. I only got 3 in. The epoxy's setting up. I'm going to do it all over again and see where I get. But those 3 are in. I like the depth. I don't think I've got epoxy covering any of the threads where the nut's going to go. Okay, we're making progress. Where the blue tape is, I've added a little bit of epoxy to fill in 3 of the 8 holes that I was filling. They weren't quite enough. Here's our motor mount. I just made this wedge, which is one of those things you never think about when you start, but when I realized that I was going to have to make this thing erect and it would be basically a large mousetrap at that point, I decided I'd better make myself something to keep it from closing on my fingers. So, we'll get some caulk on it. Quite a bit of caulk, probably. There'll be some caulking putting on and then a whole bunch of stuff coming out. Okay, and I'm not going to be using this for a little while. So we'll cover the end with foil tape. Okay, let this sit somewhere. Okay, not very neat, and it's going to make a big mess. Okay, and one other thing I did was I put little black stripes at the bottom of each of the bolts because I just wanted to see if anything moved. I hope it doesn't, but if it does, oh well. Yeah, okay, it's on. Let's see, I think I'm going to stick this guy here temporarily. Okay, and then a washer and a nut. Be nice to have a transom that went the other way at times like this, but oh well. Okay, there's 3 to get started with. And here is... Oh, and I suppose I should confess that I did try it once before without any glue on, but that was a couple of days ago. And it's a tight fit. It's a good thing I agonized. Oh, well, that didn't help. See if we can not get everything involved in this. Okay. Well, that's fairly tight. Sometimes they say it helps to come back later and retighten. And in this case, that's one of the reasons I went with the nuts on the outside. Well, of course, I had to do that anyway, but one of the further justifications was that if you have a seal that's established between the aluminum, the 3M 4000, and the hull, you don't want to turn the stud, because you want the stud to stay where it is, and that way the seal is maintained. And so that should be what we have, even if I decide to come back and give these a little bit more tightening in the future. Okay, I think I'm down to the point where make sure I haven't got too much on any of the tools, and then I'll wipe it down with some acetone. I think that's good. I switched gloves. I didn't want to get stuff off my blue gloves onto the job, and these green gloves are thicker. Here's the motor on the motor mount. It's in the all the way up position. That's the top. That's the next one down. That's the middle, which I think might be what one would probably want to use. But that's the lowest it will go into. It's just 4 positions. There's a 5th position marked on the handle, but it doesn't seem to want to go into it. And that should be low enough.